j'arrive, j'ouvre, hold my edge, dit vocal.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ocast, your island gateway to all things geek. I'm your host, Cal MacDonald, tonight, and joining me again, Elena. How are you doing? So tonight, we're celebrating one of the greatest games of all time, and joining us all the way from the far reaches of Denver, USA, Alyse Noor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you. So I think just to give the viewers and listeners a little bit, I feel like a little bit about yourself. So have you always been a gamer at heart? Was this just part of your life all the way?
Yeah, it's always been there. In a lot of the book I read on Super Mario Brothers 3, it's about my childhood with gaming. So my dad worked in computer science at the time that the NES was just sort of starting to get popular. And so he was enough of a computer geek that he got us an NES at home, and he was playing Doom with me on his PC. And growing up, I just really bonded with my father. Even from before I could read, I was playing Mario with him. And so it's very, very dear to my heart and my memories of my childhood and my family.
Yeah. And so this has become part of your studies now, you're kind of in a very fortunate position.
Yeah, sort of accidentally. So I was an English and journalism major in college. I went on to graduate school for creative writing and poetry. And then I went into teaching. So I'm a college professor, and I've been doing that basically all the way since grad school. But around 2014, I saw a call for proposals from a new press, a small indie publisher that wanted to do single books about individual video games. And I thought, well, that's cool. I actually have a lot to say about Super Mario Brothers 3. So I wrote up a proposal, sent it in. The proposal got accepted. And then I wrote this book on Super Mario 3.
This was like the first game that got such major hype. There was such a big build up to this. And just the series, what is it about this series that it endures so much, like Mario in general? It's like there's no other property that's endured like this.
I know, yeah, it's kind of taken on its own momentum that can maybe never be stopped, just because it's become this brand. So now, like, kids play it today because their parents grew up playing it and their parents grew up playing it, and so it has all of this cultural nostalgia. And it's like, Mickey Mouse. It's Bugs Bunny. He's just this kind of character that symbolizes video games, and I think also Mario symbolizes quality. So Nintendo always puts a lot of effort and energy into their Mario games being their sort of killer app flagship games for each new console. And so Mario symbolizes and sort of promises quality. If it's going to be a Mario game, it's probably going to be really good, reliable.
Yeah, it's because that's what there's a famous Scottish podcast here called Consolvania, and they asked the host, and he just said, "I'll put it like this: Mario just means games. That's it. That's the best way I can put it." And it's that just sense of joy, the pure joy of games. And it's
the games are, I mean, you just look at the background behind you. They're colorful, they're weird, they're simple, imaginative, fun, and they're perfectly structured to give us those like easy to learn, hard to master qualities of games, that flow state in which we find ourselves like really obsessed or addicted to a game, those dopamine hits timed just right with all the different kinds of rewards. They're just like engineered, and from day one have been engineered to be the quintessential.
Yeah, because it's something I thought about myself was like, if you tried to describe to someone who didn't know Mario just verbally, they would just look at you very strange. But you show them the console, you show the game running, and people just get it then. It's like this Miyamoto just came up with it. That little man, it's just like so perfect, like such a perfect bit of design. Everyone just understands what it is, just looking at it.
Even though they probably shouldn't, right? Like, so he's a Italian American Brooklyn based plumber by a Japanese game company, and they're putting all of their Japanese culture. Like, we growing up playing Super Mario Brothers 3, we all just accepted that raccoons could fly and turn into statues. Those are extremely specific cultural, religious references and symbols in Japan. But American kids were like, yeah, sure. And I'm sure Scottish kids were just, okay, fine. Like, whatever.
Yeah. Elena, do you want to come in there?
Alyse, you just mentioned that there are like a lot of references to Japanese culture. Could you say more about that? Because, that's something really interesting that I wouldn't have caught as a kid. And yeah, like you said, I just accepted it the way it was shown. So
Yeah. So the iconic image that's on the cover to the game and that we associate maybe the most with Super Mario 3 is the flying raccoon. Well, this comes from a type of Japanese raccoon dog called the tanuki, and it's an actual animal. It looks like a cross between a little fox kind of dog and a raccoon. They're very common throughout Japan, and in Japanese folklore, they have a really significant role and have had one since ancient times. They're sort of always there to represent like mischievous shapeshifters, masters of disguise. You'll see them even now if you go into a Japanese restaurant. A lot of times they'll have a little tanuki statue, and he's usually holding like a jug of liquor and then a bag of money. So they kind of also symbolize prosperity. And then they also symbolize fertility. It's almost tanuki statues. They have enormous testicles, like testicles almost half the size of the creature themselves. And so there is some speculation about whether Raccoon Mario is flying by flapping his tail, or there are a lot of sort of screen print woodcut images in Japanese culture of tanuki using their testicles as parachutes, as hang gliders, as nets, as blankets, and as, magical tools to do all kinds of things.
that's great.
I love that we are not even 10 minutes in and we already got to the testicles part. So that's great.
That's how I like it.
I'm really curious about like a Mario game of all things helping someone explore their queer identity.
Yeah.
That's really intriguing to me, this.
Well, so in his in the book is from Boss Fight Books, and in Boss Fight Books, every author will kind of take a different balance of how much memoir they include, how much documentary, journalism, cultural history. And I decided to include a lot of memoir because this game has meant so much to me personally. So not only my relationship with my father, but also when I was a really little kid playing Mario 3, my favorite thing about the game was that I got to rescue a princess. And in my regular life as a girl, I wasn't really allowed to do that on the playground. It would be like weird, and I'd get probably bullied for being a girl who likes to rescue princesses or damsels in distress, who wants to be the knight instead of the princess. But games give us such a wonderful place. Any game gives us a wonderful place to explore our identities, to play and experiment, and to try things that maybe aren't possible in regular life. So part of that is being a flying raccoon, and part of that also is being the hero who gets to rescue the princess.
Yeah, because it is like Mario, especially, it's that kind of blank canvas where you can just put into it what you want, like what your own experience is, how it helps you.
Yeah,
It's
I
very
think so.
neutral on a lot of things, so it's open to your own interpretation.
And when I went back and replayed the game, to write this book, growing up, I had always remembered those letters from the princess as being like love letters, and she'd seal them with a kiss or something. They're not that way at all. They read like a business memo. She's like, here is an item to help you on your way. And but I was a young, closeted gay kid. And so for me, like they must have felt like love letters to me, like this like illicit secret letter from the princess who needed me and was calling me for help. I mean, that was just very, very exciting for my young lesbian heart.
Elena, yours.
Yeah, well, no, I was just gonna say that I guess, to me that just shows you how well the game was designed, that it can like hold meanings for people around the world, and it can like accommodate kind of like your own concepts. It can like take on whatever is important for you, and I think possibly the same that allowed you to see those like princess letters as love letters and relate to that. It's probably a similar principle that even though it's taking inspiration from one culture, it's really accessible to people in other cultures in the world. There's just something about like almost human universality in it. You know what I mean?
For sure. I think like, any great work of art has both those incredibly specific things, but there's something about it that makes it relatable to all. And I do think that this game is a work of art, and I don't, one of my like quests in writing the book that I say in the intro was that I set out to try to figure out whether the game is as good as I thought it was, or whether that was just my own nostalgic biases. Like, is it do I think it's one of the best games in the world just because it meant so much to me as a kid? Or is it really, is there something objectively great and beautiful and genius about how it's designed? And the answer I discovered was that it's both. We can't really say any game is the greatest game of all time because there is that subjective taste, personal connection, but this game really was intentionally, thoughtfully crafted. And it's just really, really beautifully constructed in a way that lets it keep resonating for many different audiences all these years later.
Yeah, because, and that's just true for nearly every single Mario game. I can't think of a single miss in the series, or at least there's very few that's never mentioned.
It's true. You know, in that way, the Mario's creator, Shigeru Miyamoto, has also kind of become a mascot for quality, a mascot for Nintendo, and a sort of figurehead of how seriously they take quality. And the way that they really focus and prioritize play above all else. Like Miyamoto doesn't super care about story. He's not that invested. I mean, Legend of Zelda, sure, but like for him, it's really about the game's feel, the game's quality. Like, is it fun? Is what it always comes down to. And because he prioritizes that so much over all else, it's how you just can always trust that a Mario game is going to be something you can play and enjoy.
Yeah, because it's that famous story. I think it was the two British guys who were working on Star Fox, but it was something completely different. Like they got brought over to Nintendo Japan to work on it. And they just say they remember Miyamoto would just walk in, occasionally just standing there smoking. And then there was one day he says, see the characters, make them these animals. And they just looked, are you crazy? That is like the corniest idea. But they say, no, just do it. And then an icon is born just out of that. Like, it's like Spielberg. He just knows what that audience will connect with.
Totally. And that also is very Japanese. They have this kind of cuteness culture in Japan, kawaii. And so, you know, it's where you get Pikachu. It's where you get Hello Kitty. They're really into having like mascots, icons, you know, animals that can take on symbolic, meaning. And so one of my favorite things about Super Mario Brothers 3 is the costumes. That was a difference from the other games in the series. Mario 1 and Mario 2, you had power-ups. But Mario 3 was you're putting on a raccoon costume or a frog costume or the little adorable bear who turns into a statue costume. And then that comes up in later Mario games, more recent games where he can turn into an elephant or a cat. And so you could think about that as coming from like Japanese kawaii cuteness culture or even from kabuki, like the kind of performance art with masks and like a highly stylized performance. So yeah, very Japanese.
Yeah. So what's your favorite costume? I think you kind of gave a hint there, maybe.
I really, it's not a costume, but my favorite sort of power up that you get to use in the game is the shoe, the wind up shoe that bounces around for that one level in World 5. And I love it because I feel like in any modern game today, if they were going to spend the time coding and drawing that little bouncy shoe, it would be something that you would use in multiple levels. But in Mario 3, it's only in that one level. They don't use it anywhere else. And I think it's just a great kind of representation of how there's something sort of messy about Super Mario 3. Like it's very polished, but it's also kind of weird. Like weird things happen, one-off things in just one level that makes it all the more special and delightful that you wait the whole game just to play that one level. And then that's all you get. You don't get to do it in any other place. Yeah,
because the Mario game I've played the most is 64, and that's definitely got that spirit. It's just interesting things, and you can keep exploring that, and you've not found half of the things that are hidden or intentional or unintentional.
I think that Super Mario 64 is the game that's most like Super Mario Brothers 3 in the franchise. And it's because of exactly what you said, that spirit of exploration. In my book, I use the term topophilia, which comes from Henry Jenkins. He's an MIT game studies guy. Topophilia, just that like love of maps and love of like exploration and finding the new worlds and the secrets within the worlds. And because Mario 64 was open world basically for the time, it had this like find the stars. It was perfectly like the game's objectives were perfectly set up to match the technology, which was perfectly set up to match kind of like gamers' core desire in a Mario game, which was like find more worlds, uncover more secrets.
Yeah, so I'm talking about that map really was revolutionary at the time, that world map.
So cool. Yeah, it was very new for the time. You know, you had a sense of exploring territory, conquering ground in Mario 1 and 2, but you never...
Well, yeah, actually, I related to, when you were describing how you played the game with your brother, or rather how you then told him to just like watch you play the game. And it really like took me back to my childhood. So I used to play it with my cousins because I didn't have the games myself. My parents wouldn't allow me to have them. Hi, Dad. Anyway. But it was actually somehow like nicer playing it with other people when like either you were watching them or they were watching you play. So I wonder, like, is there some special like social advantage to that also makes the game so beloved?
I think so. Yeah, 100%. It might even be something about the Nintendo ethos in general. Like when I think of Nintendo versus, PlayStation or Microsoft, I think about the kind of hyper individuality of playing like Halo or, like playing a first person shooter and it's just you. It's not very fun to watch someone else playing a first person shooter or play some of those more adult themed games. It's fun to play them online with people. But Nintendo has always sort of strived to have like a couch based social mentality, whether it's, especially in the N64 era with GoldenEye, with Mario Kart, with Mario Party. The GameCube was such a social console with things like Super Smash Brothers and things like that. And it's meant to be in person. It's meant to be like you're laughing, you're throwing popcorn at your friends or your cousins, you're elbowing them on the couch, your mom's coming in to tell you you're being too loud. But also they have always cared a lot about having consoles and games that are family friendly, that they knew, especially when they were kind of trying to revive the video game industry in the 80s, that they were not going to make any sales unless it appealed to children and their parents, because their target audience was and still is younger children. Yeah. So even with the design of the Wii, if we wonder like where the Wii remotes came from, it came from Shigeru Miyamoto saying, I don't think mom likes all those tangled up cords all over the floor. And that's how you get the Wii remote. They've always thinking about something that would like be appealing to parents, that would look like, like family friendly and palatable and maybe even playable and discernible to adults.
Yeah, because it's funny what you say there about going a wee bit off course, but that's okay. The Wii, and I remember when I got a Wii, and I lived in Aberdeen at the time. My parents came to visit. They'd never picked up a console in their life or showed any interest, and they were in their 60s. But they had seen the Wii on TV and said, "You've got one. Show us. We want to play this." And they were having the time of their lives doing Wii Sports. And I said, "That's Nintendo distilled. Everyone, come join this. It's fun. The gaming is for everyone."
Yeah, absolutely. Like you probably have seen the kind of images of those early Wii days. It was little kids playing the Wii, and then it was older people in retirement communities and nursing homes even. And so Nintendo, they sort of, I think, acknowledged that they aren't going to get that hardcore 20-something male gamer that, the Call of Duty franchises are going to get, that the Fort, they kind of gave up on that. They were like, that's not our brand. That's not, they tried with GoldenEye. They said like, let's try to kind of get into this like hardcore, Sonic versus Mario Wars, and then they just kind of conceded that ground and they said, no, we're okay being like the family console. And it's been working for them.
Yep. You can see on your screen there, probably we've got a question come in saying, what's your view on gaming as an adult, hobby, escape, or something deeper?
That's a great question. So I teach at a Catholic Jesuit school. And so we're invited oftentimes to teach these university courses on like meaning. So that could be spiritual, that could be artistic, that could be economic. And I have a class actually in the works right now on video games as a source of meaning, because it can be all of those and more, right? There have been times in my life where video games are a form of stress relief, anger management, where it's a spiritual practice, where it's a source of beauty or connection with friends who live far away or friends who live close, where it's a source of love and memories with my family. And then other times it's just that I'm on a bus and I need to kill some time, and it's very surface level, and it's very, it's a kind of like hobby / escape. And I love that about games. I love the versatility of meaning they can hold. That, I like going to the opera, but I usually don't just go, because I'm wanting to de-stress. You go to the opera really to really like focus and listen and be smart and be odd. You can have all of that in a game, but you can also have it be much kind of lower key and maybe even, I don't know, a source of relief in addition to meaning. So I think it depends on the day, but games mean so much to me. And now in my book, I talk about my dad teaching me how to play games starting with Super Mario 3 when I was a little girl. And now I have a 6-year-old and I'm teaching her how to play games. And so I'm getting to see that connection from the other side, which is really sweet.
Awesome. Elena, I'll bring you in there.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask, what is it like to, play games with your kids or like show them how to play games?
It's really fun. I mean, there's so many more games for them to play now than when I was a kid. It was like, you're gonna play Duck Hunt or Mario. Those are the options. That's it. And now, she can download something free like any time she wants. There's all this stuff out there. So she plays like an open world Paw Patrol game she really likes. There's like a open world Bluey game that she enjoys. And it's been really amazing to watch her go from like not being able at all to figure out what it meant to press a button and move a character to being very fluent, and not even needing to look down. She's still not very good at Mario because those games are hard. They're really hard compared to her, like get yourself to object, pick up objects, activate, like some of the little kid games are. So gotta keep working on her.
Yeah, I actually remember like I preferred at some point, I just preferred watching someone experience play it rather than struggle myself, so I can relate to your kid.
It's cool how now you have online some of these like cinematic playthroughs of certain hard games. So like, when The Last of Us was on, everyone wanted to play the game, but some people are like, I can't beat the game. It's too hard, even on easy mode. And so then you have like, you can just zen out, and I guess all this stuff with Discord and all that, like the kind of live streams like Twitch, and that never existed when I was a kid. You just had to watch your like older sibling play, and that was your Twitch. But I don't think you're alone in that at all.
Yeah, and also you've now got the whole speedrunning phenomenon, which is just
oh my gosh,
I love watching speedruns. I could watch speedruns for hours.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
And when you read the methods and the measurements they do to perfect these, it's just incredible some of the effort that goes into them.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see all the different constraints someone can create. Like my other book is about GoldenEye, and there's someone who's figured out how to beat the whole game without ever only needing to fire one bullet the whole game. And it's to get through a locked gate. You have to shoot the padlock off the gate, but the rest of the game you can complete without ever firing. So it's like the pacifist's GoldenEye, which is so fun.
Yeah, because that is one thing I do remember when I was in university and I had the N6 and we had GoldenEye. I was reading in the magazine. People had invented their own ways to play the multiplayer. Like they could recreate the Terminator using Jaws as the Terminator, and he's chasing everyone down. And he's got the Moonraker laser.
Cool?
Yeah, and just people came up and it was just so fantastic to see that.
And GoldenEye was one of the first games that Doom and GoldenEye, right? Like people really got into modding. And so after Perfect Dark came out, and there was kind of like, you have some people who are like diehard Perfect Dark. They love it. They think it's the best game ever. Other people were kind of disappointed because they wanted more of the same in their GoldenEye sequel. They wanted a game that kind of felt Bondian. And so there was a team of people who just DIY'd their own GoldenEye sequel. I think it's called Goldfinger, actually. It's like that movie. So they have the Sean Connery Bond in there. It's all the same art assets, just reorganized in a way with a new plot. You can buy it as a cartridge in a box and feel like you're buying the true sequel to GoldenEye. So the modding was so fun for that.
Yeah. And it's the other thing when I go back to Super Mario, and I'm always like, and I don't know this, and I'm always convinced that it's a SNES game because it's so advanced compared to the first Super Mario. But and it's still the same system, which is just incredible. And it looks so much more fluid, and the graphics are so much more deep. That is just incredible that they pulled that off.
It was, and it was quite late in the NES's life cycle, but they were able to extend the sales of that console, extend that console's relevance for so much longer than they would have without it. They really figured out how to milk every last bit out of that technology before they moved up to and I think that it created a nice feeling of continuity, right? Going into the SNES with Super Mario World, because you had that bright color design, you had the map, all of those kind of same elements that show up in Mario World.
Yeah, and it was also, the other thing it introduced was the whole concept of different biomes in a game. I think that had never really been explored either. Like, which also, that's what Minecraft thrives on now.
That's so true. That's such a great point. It was so exciting. Everyone had their favorite, everyone has their favorite world in Super Mario 3. It's like, why would you want to whistle over the world? So who wants to miss Ice World? I could maybe skip Pipe World. That was really hard. But like, yeah, just that idea that there were different kind of personalities, different music, different special items. It just, that novelty feature is another reason you're getting a dopamine hit, right? You're getting a dopamine hit every time you hear the perfect fifth musical, like, oh, I got a coin, yay. But you're also getting it from the novelty of, going into a new space when one gets boring. And I think they knew that because in Super Mario 1, it was kind of like the same 3 levels over and over again, just getting harder and harder. And then what's different about World is that the biomes, you don't have to sort of go to a whole new map. The map is all connected. You can just go all over from one world to the other. And you had a real feeling of exploration, like, oh, I'm crossing over a bridge from one mountain to another. Now I'm going through a tunnel into the mountain. Now I'm inside the mountain. That's a great game too. Super Mario World is a beautiful game.
Apart from the swimming levels, and that's one thing, Mario, I cannot stand swimming in any Mario game. Swimming is always just drives you insane. Like
it made the frog suit. The frog suit in Mario 3 was such a relief. You were like, oh, good, I won't die because I can swim in a straight line.
Which is annoying because in Mario 64, it's like some of the best music ever is in Lagoon, obviously, but it's a swimming level. So it's like...
Yeah, those Mario 64, you're like trying to get the star off the eel's tail and he keeps swimming. And I'm like, this is impossible. This is an impossible task you've given.
Right. It's also like the difficulty curve of this game. How do you feel? Is it too much, or do you think it's kind of, it holds your hand enough at the start and then or is it just difficult for it? Like,
it's so funny. So I consider this game to be much easier than Mario 1. And part of that is because it's Mario in 3 is slipperier. he's more slippy and slippery. And that's because like there's kind of a stiffness when you're playing Mario 1. Like if you don't perfectly time the jump, it's very unforgiving. Whereas in Mario 3, you can speed run it a lot easier because there's just kind of like a little less friction on the kind of surfaces. With that said, I have a friend, a Gen Xer friend, who like she can't beat level 1 of Mario 3, and she doesn't game at all. She's not a gamer, but she can still muscle memory her way through every single jump in Mario 1. So some of it's just, I guess, your muscle memory, what you grow up with. But I think what was really revolutionary about Mario 3 and part of its beautiful design is that the first few levels teach you how to play it. You don't need an instruction booklet. We weren't given that. You don't need a tutorial. There's no text. The placement of enemies in that first level and the placement of obstacles encourages you to jump when you need to jump or to not jump and learn that you need to for the next try. It's really hard to avoid getting power-ups. Like they've placed it in a way that you kind of accidentally will get what you need to get to learn how to. There's a runway with like little flying Goombas to kind of encourage you to fly. So you get to fly in the very first level. So I think that its in-game tutorialization is really, really smart. And then from there, I think it scales pretty well to keep you in the zone as far as like it's always just a little bit harder than you're capable of at any given time.
Yeah. And you also feel like this was the game that kind of just made Mario mainstream, because before he was just more of a mascot, and then he became an icon with us. Yeah,
Mario 3 is the reason we still have Mario today. I feel very confident about that. He was in the original Donkey Kong arcade game, but he wasn't named. He was kind of Jumpman. In Mario 1, that was a very popular game, but Nintendo made a big mistake with Mario 2, right? They in Japan, they released a game that we know in the West as Super Mario The Lost Levels. And this was basically an exact copy of Super Mario 1, but with everything much, much harder, with gusts of wind that would blow on you as soon as you tried to jump, with poisonous mushrooms. And in Japan, gamers really liked that kind of sadistically hard, merciless, cruel, random, chaotic difficulty. But they thought that maybe Western audiences would not like that, would find that unfair, would find that frustrating. And so instead of releasing that version of Mario 2 in the West, they took a existing game about Princess Scheherazade and the Arabian Nights called Doki Doki Panic, and they reskinned it and gave all those characters Mario images. And that's how you ended up with the Western Mario 2. That's the one where you're picking up turnips and throwing them at people, you're digging in sand, It doesn't feel at all like a Mario game. You can't jump
Yeah.
on a bad guy to kill them. It's just very weird because it was never meant to be a Mario game. So at this point in the West, Mario, because no one really liked that game. It was fine, but it was kind of a weird game, and it didn't scratch that Mario 1 itch for people. So they came very close to like messing it up in the West and kind of losing that. So when they brought Super Mario 3 out, it felt so satisfying to Western audiences. It was the sequel we have been waiting for, the true sequel. It felt like Mario 1, but it looked better. It played smoother. It was just very, very exciting. And it had the biggest marketing campaign for any video game in history before, or probably since. And because of all of that, it just sort of cemented his placement in the zeitgeist to continue till today.
Yeah, because it's going to talk about the wizard there, because it is basically a glorified preview for Mario 3. Do you think part of the motivation for that was this is make or break? We could lose Mario in the West here, so we've got to. Do you think that was a motivation to making that film?
I think they had some really smart Nintendo of America, in particular, marketing employees who got really, really creative. I got to interview one of them for the book, Gail Thomas, and I think they just did some really innovative things. I mean, they figured out a way to capitalize on the fact that children already liked video games and were excited about video games, to sell that to Hollywood so that people would pay money to go to the movie theater and see a 90-minute ad for Nintendo products. I mean, and they did the same thing with Nintendo Power Magazine, by the way. They sold subscriptions to a catalog of products that they were selling. That's all Nintendo Power Magazine was a catalog, basically, of like advertising for their own products. And people paid them to subscribe to it. Like, it's just brilliant. I think they just, I couldn't explain it. I mean, yeah, they just went for it. And then they had people buying they did a tie-in with McDonald's. They had Nintendo toys and the Happy Meals. They had breakfast cereals. They just did so much sort of cross-platform advertising. It was brilliant.
Yeah, because I think, now am I right? It was at the time Mario 3 came out was the arrival of Sonic as well. Do you think that played a part in this game's legacy? That kind of Sonic Mario
came,
war?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I believe he came right after Mario 3. I think what happened was Sega saw how good Mario was doing, and they were like, we need some kind of cartoon mascot just like they have. But we can't have it be exactly the same. We can't have it be someone who's cute and non-threatening and family-friendly, because they've already cornered the market there. So they said, okay, these kids who grew up with Mario, they're getting older, and they're getting to be preteens and teens. What are they like? They want something kind of edgy and snarky and like a bad boy. So that's how they come up with Sonic, who's kind of like, he's like in your face. He's like the bad boy on the playground. And that starts the console wars, which really was about the Sega versus the SNES, right? Because the NES and Mario 3 kind of already had their moment. And so they're going head to head, really kind of trying to capture children's attention. And you have Sega doing these really aggressive commercials that were like, Nintendo's for babies, Mario's for little kids. Come grow up with us and be cool.
Which I will now confess, I kind of fell for it. I didn't own a console at the time, but when I was younger, I didn't want to go near Mario because it was, to me, I looked at it and I saw and it was that's a baby's thing. I owned a microcomputer, but that put me off getting a Nintendo for years. So, like, the only Nintendo game I would really wanted to play was Metroid, because that seemed like a cool kind of edgy game.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's all about appealing to, whichever kind of like micro generation or audience. The same thing happened with GoldenEye, right? So they had the N64, they released Mario 64, they released Mario Kart, and then there was Super Smash Brothers, and they were like, okay, we need a game that can kind of hook in like mature gamers. And so that's how they end up making GoldenEye, because they're like, well, we need something to compete with those PC gamers who were really addicted to their violence and their monsters and guns and blood.
Because it's quite interesting, like now, like when GTA 3 arrived, it really is Mario 3 crossed with GoldenEye. When you see it, that's how I view it. It's like they mashed the two, all the best elements of the two of them into this chaotic world.
That's a really, really good interpretation. I really, I agree with that.
Do you have what's your experience of the community, or like online community mostly, I guess, around Mario, because I know that with a lot of other games, there's it can be quite an adverse environment for women players. And I would imagine that Mario community, just like the game, would be a bit more inclusive. So is that a correct presumption?
That's a great question. I do think this is the sort of online community around Mario 3 probably is in the speed running and in the sort of just like nostalgia, like millennial Gen X level nostalgia for people have, Super Mario tattoos, and they have, like they'll do it for their like wedding cake, or, if they're the right kind of geek. And so a lot of it feels very, very wholesome because it's sort of like a generational nostalgia, and the speedrunning community is pretty, pretty small and connected. I will say that both the books that I wrote for Boss Fight, Super Mario 3 and GoldenEye, I think very much are rooted in my nostalgia for a time when gaming did feel a little nicer, a little more inclusive in general. And part of that was that you're always playing in person. So you can make fun of your friends for choosing Oddjob as a character in GoldenEye, but you're going to do it in person. You're not going to like call them some slur or scream, vile, misogynistic, racist language at them like people do online in the sort of anonymous, forums in which we play online games. I also think, GoldenEye came out in 1997 just before the Columbine massacres. So it was a time when we were still fairly innocent in our like debates or thoughts or pointing the finger and blading around like violence in video games. And so maybe that's me being old fashioned, but like I do sort of I'm afraid to play games online. I don't want some like 12-year-old in Michigan to call me a C word or something. And that's not fun for me. So and I do see a lot of it on TikTok that just kind of vile encounters people have. And it makes me sad because games are supposed to be, places where we can be friends, where we can enjoy ourselves and tap into our like childhood I don't know, whimsy.
Yeah. Because it's like, even though I don't get Minecraft, that is the beauty of Minecraft. It brings kids together and they build things rather than shoot each other in the face. Like that's why it's like such an incredible game.
It's so nice. Yeah, it makes me so happy to see that, and to, I don't know, even just seeing the way that the kids are like a game like Fortnite, right? It's like it's just that kind of cartoon aesthetic even kind of tones things down. I think from some of the like Call of Duty, like who's the most macho warrior, and kind of intense for me.
And I was going to say the other thing that was tied in with this we have to mention, because we've been praising Nintendo, but there was always the Power Glove, which is notorious, which was
my goodness.
I'm trying to remember, was the Power Glove designed to be used with Super Mario? Was it intended?
I don't think so. Let me look that up. I didn't come across that. I think that was a little bit. No, maybe you can use it. Yeah, apparently you can. But I think maybe someone modded it. I think someone modded it to get it to do that. But yeah, what a terrible piece of technology. Their problem, Nintendo was trying for a long time. They couldn't figure out, are we selling a computer or are we selling a toy? And so they would go back and forth at different points along the way to try to kind of like capture whatever consumers were more or less interested in at any given time. And they even sort of would like the colors of the box, right? So like the NES in Japan, it was sold as a toy, so it's bright orange. In the West, it was sold as more of a high-end electronics device, so it's gray and black and super sleek and smart looking. But then they eventually went back to sort of treating it more like a toy. So you get the Zapper gun, you get the Power Glove, you get Rob the robot, all these kind of gimmicky, cheesy things that were just meant to get more money for them out of the life cycle of the console.
Yeah. And also, as a question I had written down, I've just remembered it. There's a strong reggae influence in this game. I mean, the music, which is like about a jumping plumber, a Japanese game about jumping, and there's reggae. Like, how can you explain that? And how the heck did they make that work again? It's just, I think it's like in Skyland especially. There's a heavy reggae feel to that.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's all Koji Kondo. So he's the composer for Super Mario, Legend of Zelda, and he's a genius. That's the thing that kind of was like lightning in a barrel with this game. It's like you had Shigeru Miyamoto, you had Takashi Tezuka, his right hand man, you had Koji Kondo. These are all just like really smart, really creative people who happened to be working together. So Koji Kondo, he played the marimbas in his elementary school band.
All right.
And so that's partly what you'll hear some of the reggae is like, because he just himself was a marimba player. He also, I think in elementary or middle school, he was in a cover band that played jazz and rock. He just had a lot of like versatility in his own musical background. And so then when it came time to make music for Super Mario 3, he wanted like different sounds for each world. And, he wanted, and he really got creative with figuring out how to use the hardware of the NES to get different sounds. What he figured out between Mario 1 and Mario 3 in particular was drum sounds. He figured out how to creatively use the technology to get a wider variety of beats and drums. And so that's probably what you're hearing on that too, is that kind of groove is sort of marimba-y.
Oh, that's great.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
nice.
bring you in there, Elena.
Yeah, I was just I'm just thinking about like all the research you did for the book when you were writing it, and what was it like for you to like go back to like something from your childhood and you even replaying the game, but at the same time like ingesting so much information and so many like different inputs from other creative people, because you yourself are a very creative person.
I love this question. I had never written a nonfiction book before. I write poetry. And so I really like to be like, I'm very detail oriented. I'm also a bit of a completionist. And so I kept finding that I would read something about like how Koji Kondo, composed the music. And then I was like, but I don't understand what this means. So actually, I need to learn all about the entire history of the hardware for the NES. And to understand that, I need to learn all of Nintendo's history. And that goes back to 1887. So it just, one thing leads to another, and you want to dig deeper and deeper. And I just am a very curious person. I'm also a journalist. So I wanted to interview as many people as I could who have been involved with the creation of the game. Nintendo is very, very private. They do not like media. They do not like anything they can't control around media. So they wouldn't let me talk to any of their people. But the former Nintendo of America staff, Gail Thomas, the marketing head, a couple of the other people involved in the creation of the game did talk to me. So that was fun. I also interviewed my brother and my dad to sort of compare my memories of the game growing up with theirs. I replayed the game. So it was fun to blend reading and teaching myself the world of game studies and history of Nintendo, combined with this experiential research around replaying it, talking to my family about it, just sort of, doing some like polls of my friends, like what memories do you have of the game? It was just a lot of fun to go down so many rabbit holes.
And I'm just like remembering that Miyamoto said he was a little bit disappointed by the game. Quite famously.
Yeah, that's me.
He said it was overstuffed or something like that.
Yeah, he's it's one of those things where like when you're such a genius and such a perfectionist, you'll never really be satisfied.
Yeah.
I think maybe I can't explain it. I mean, he's just such a his attention to detail is so great. One of the interviews I remember reading was one of the young programmers on the game had to figure out how to program in. There's like this little bad guy in the game that it's like these little tiny Goombas, and if they twirl around you in a circle, it stunts your jump. You can't jump as high. And he had tried all these different things. He had tried to make Mario like weigh more in the game. He had tried to control like the speed of the jump or something. I don't know. He had tried all these different things, and Miyamoto just kept saying like, nope, that's not it. No, that's not it. To the point where this programmer would just dread the sound of his shoes walking down the hallway. Like, he's just going to come here and tell me it's wrong. And finally, he figured out how to do it by putting an invisible block over Mario's head. So when you're trying to jump, you're hitting an invisible block. And it's perfect. It's just exactly what is going to be frustrating enough to the gamer in the moment, but feel right.
Yeah,
so I mean, Miyamoto's a real perfectionist.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like what I heard people say, like working with the director James Cameron. They say like he's cursed with a vision, basically, and he basically said, if you imagine a film set of 100, it was the 100 people who were him, he would get what he wants, but he can't. But he's got like a limit. It's like other people have different ideas. As like he can never get what's in his head can't be put out there.
I think that's a really apt comparison. One of the reasons Mario as a brand entity feels so coherent and consistent, especially in the earliest years when the teams weren't so big, is really because Miyamoto's an auteur sort of designer, right down to the fact that a lot of the game is autobiographical, right? Like he was inspired to make this game and the very first Mario game by his childhood exploring the rural community he grew up in, and he kind of would poke around and explore caves and pipes, and he would explore, you know, all these different like kind of biomes and places in his community, and climb trees, and all of that makes its way. There were like the neighbor's dog really scared him. The neighbor's dog was chained up and would bark at him and scare him and sort of lunge at him. And that's one of the bad guys in the games, the chain chomp, that sort of black head. Yeah, that like pulls on the chain. So there's so many things in here that are inspired by his life and his childhood. And so it's really, I don't know, that kind of makes sense that it's his vision that he can't quite ever fully execute.
So again, that reminds me of the Spielberg comparisons. Like when he wrote E.T., that was him writing a story about that imaginary friend he had when he was little as well, and when his dad had left, and it was just his mum raising him.
I think Miyamoto, was very much in these games wanting to capture the feeling of being a child exploring, and there's always one new world right around the corner, and it's waiting for you to explore it, and it's exciting, and there's secrets, and if you just keep exploring and playing, you'll find more and more. And I think that's a very beautiful, like, generosity to the game's feel, right? Like it's a game that's inviting you and at your disposal, and sort of like, it's a joyous feeling when you play a game like that.
Would you say this is the game you revisit the most in your collection?
Yeah, I think so. There's something very comforting about firing it up. Part of it is just knowing where everything is. So right now I have two small children, a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. I teach at a university, so I have like between 50 and 100 students a semester. My house is a wreck. I never know where anything is. I don't know where my keys are. I don't know where my wallet is. I don't know where the coriander is to make the dinner. I don't know where anything is. And everything is I'm always flustered, and I don't think I'm doing anything right. But when I fire up Super Mario 3, I know where all the secret rooms are. I know where everything is. I know how to beat it. I can manage those tasks. I can accomplish them. I can be victorious. And sometimes you need to feel victorious.
Yeah.
Yes, that's for sure.
I'll bring you in there, Elena.
Oh, so odd question, yeah. But do you sometimes do you feel like Mario enters your like daily life? Do you sometimes like imagine? I'm asking this, just disclosure, I'm asking this because sometimes when I'm in a crowd of people in a public, like in transport, I just start imagining jumping on them, and as soon as I jump on them, just like fly away.
I love it. I love it. My go-to daydream is more Star Wars. So whenever I'm bored or when I'm trying to fall asleep at night, I have kind of like a running fan fiction starring me, Star Wars, in my head. And like there's so much like backstory and lore, and there's like an ongoing. And so that's what I do when I'm bored or when I'm anxious or when I'm trying to fall asleep, because I just like tell myself that story. Oh. So I do it, but I don't do it with the Mario universe, but I do it with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I'm curious, because I said there was the leap between Super Mario and then Mario, and then there was another leap, Mario 3. I think 64 was the next proper Mario game. Am I right now?
Yeah.
I mean, that was an even bigger leap. That was like probably the biggest gamble to take platforming 3D.
It's so funny because, that game, like, I think a lot of gamers I know, like, we can remember like where we were the first time we saw the graphics in Super Mario 64, because it was the first experience of being in total 3D and in total like freedom, that you could just go anywhere you wanted. After playing so many games where it's like you move from left to right and there's an edge, and now we can move anywhere we want, and I can go into the water and up onto that. I can jump up the castle wall. Just playing in the courtyard of the castle in Super Mario 64 was enough for some people when the game came out. They were just living it up. And it was so influential. Game designers, when I talked to the GoldenEye developers, they were like, they had been planning that game to be on the rails. So you would have just been kind of an arcade game, like it would just point you toward what you needed to shoot and move you forward. But then they played Mario 64 and they were like, oh, we're irrelevant if we do that. This has to be an open world game. This has to be 3 dimensions. So it was so influential. It was such an influential game, Mario 64, to the point where there's sort of a legend that the controller, the N64 controller, was designed for Super Mario 64 specifically.
I just got to ask, where do you stand on the N64 controller? It's love it or hate it for a lot of people.
It's so funny because it's if you grew up with it, it doesn't feel hard, right?
Yeah.
In fact, like now when I try to play GoldenEye on the Switch, it's all backwards and I can't do it.
Yeah.
But it's so strange because for most first-person shooters now, like because most of us are right-handed, the right finger is the trigger. For GoldenEye, it was the left, and we control our movement with the right thumb. But on GoldenEye, on the N64, it's the left. But you have to remember that it was the next step from the D-pad, so people were used to controlling movement with their left hand. So I don't know, like it doesn't bother me. I think it's a beast to look at. It's a very ugly looking controller. But it's sort of quaint in that way that it's like, wow, that was weird. Like, I guess we were doing this weird 3-prong, because no, it was just such a liminal time. It was such an in-between time of designers figuring out like how to, and now every controller looks like some variation of the PlayStation 2 joystick controller, but it's kind of a thrill to see that like missing link in the evolution, right?
Yeah, it was, and I was just saying at that time as well, the 3D revolution was Nintendo were really the only ones who managed to take their 2Ds and make them 3D. Also, there was a lot of games that just couldn't, whatever it was. Like Earthworm Jim was a game I loved, and it went 3D, and it just did not work. But Nintendo just had something where they could translate these games into 3D.
Yeah, it just, you have to have someone, I think, designing it who is thinking about play, who's thinking about game feel and play and how it feels to play it. Because you can't just take like your IP, Earthworm Jim or Donkey Kong Famously. I don't think it was a super smash hit on the N64. You could disagree with me about that, but I don't think it was the best game ever. You have to figure out like what are the affordances of this technology, and how should I work my game design around that, not just throwing it into the world, And so, like I said earlier, Shigeru Miyamoto figuring out, okay, well, what will be fun in an open 3D world? Well, what will be fun is like having this kind of theme park feel where each world is a new vibe, and having you have to look for things, like look for these stars or have these little side quests, but they're all in the same space. So it's like one space to have multiple levels inside of it. Just works for that technology. And it was the structure of the game that made it fun, not the IP.
Yeah. I feel we could go on for hours about Mario 64 as well at this point. We're running out of time. Yeah. Alena, if you've got a last question there before we do our quickfire round, which we didn't tell
Okay,
anybody.
so my last question is, what would you recommend for me if I liked Mario? Are there any other games you would recommend for me to try?
If you like Super Mario 3?
Yes.
Do you mean like modern contemporary games?
Sure, or just something that just like gave you like similar experience or enjoyment.
That's a good question. Well, a game that I played recently. Hold on, I want to look at the name of it so I make sure we get it.
I'll jump in with one suggestion: Donkey Kong Country.
Yes, that's an absolute great game.
Like that was at the end of
Donkey Kong Country is a beautiful game, 100% beautiful game, great platformer, great music in that whole series. Donkey Kong 1, 2, 3. The game that's kind of modern that I think is really fun. It's a platformer, so it's a lot about jumping and swinging and moving, but also puzzle solving. Is Unravel. Unravel is this really cute game. You know this game?
I haven't purchased and I haven't played it yet.
And it's nice because you can have one of your cousins over and play it with them, because it's it's co-op, but couch co-op. It has to be local co-op. And so I played that with my best friend, and I just love the feeling of us being on the couch, like, and she's like cursing me and I'm like cursing her and she's cursing herself. I'm like, we're just like trying to work together, and I'm like, okay, you go now, and you're it's just very like good vibes, that game. I like it a lot.
And another modern one I could remember, it's I don't know, it's Ori or Ori, Will of the Wisp. The Will of the Wisps. Do you know that one?
Yeah,
and it's
I've heard
beautiful.
of that game.
And it's just an incredible platformer, and it's got that Super Mario feel to it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Combined in a very lush, detailed fantasy world as well. So if you're into fantasy settings,
good break.
Amazing.
I can see someone's wish list is growing.
Yes.
So as now customary, when we finish out these shows, we do a very ridiculous quickfire question round. Are you ready to go, Alyse?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Number one. Tanuki suit or frog suit?
Tanuki.
All right. Which Koopaling has the best airship theme song?
World 3. I can't remember which Koopaling it is, but the third world.
Number 3. Should Toad's head matching game be retired? Yes or no?
No.
Number 4. Is Angry Sun just misunderstood? Or is he just angry?
No! He's horrible. He's a monster. No
What's the
sympathy.
best item to stock up on in your inventory?
P-Wings.
All right. So which world's aesthetic is the most relaxing?
Cloud World.
No. Rate the effectiveness of the P-Wing, A+ or F-?
A+.
Okay, this is a bit of an odd one. If you could date one of the enemies, who would it be?
Oh. Wendy. Wendy the Koopaling.
All right.
Yeah.
What is the superior method for defeating a hammer bro? Fire or tail whip?
Fire.
Okay. And I think it's the classic kind of, we'll end on the complete content. What is better, Super Mario Brothers 3 or Super Mario World?
Let's say Super Mario 3. I'm loyal to it.
Yeah.
They're both really good, but for different reasons. So I'll say 3.
All right. Oh, well, thank you for that. That was like really quick. Like sometimes some guests are a bit, what are you asking me? But you've handled them really well. So, Alyse, if people want to reach out to you, if they've got questions or they want to get your books, can you tell them where to find them?
Yeah, absolutely. So all my books are up on AlyseNoor.com, ALYSEKNORR. You can find the video game books with boss fight books, and you're welcome to email me at alyse.noor@gmail.com. I'm on TikTok answering video game questions.
All right.
At Alyse Noor. Yeah, any of those places.
And any future projects you can give us a preview of, or are you busy with other things right now?
I'm writing a novel right now. I'm writing a post-apocalyptic novel, and it's going very slowly, but I'm hoping to find a publisher for it sometime soon. So it's about if 99.999% of the world disappeared, and we were left with like 100,000 people on Earth trying to figure out where everyone went.
Oh, cool. That's kind of stories I quite like those kind of stories.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like
it's fun. Like desolation's quite amusing.
Yes, I know. Yeah, especially when I'm just like I'm craving quiet.
Yeah. All right, Dad. So thank you, everyone. Thanks again, Alyse, for taking the time out. Knowing that you got a GoldenEye book, I would really love to talk about Gold, because my bias is GoldenEye. I wasted so many hours in university every night playing
me too.
My roommates with that. So I could really go on for hours.
I think everyone of a certain generation sort of like minored in GoldenEye at college.
And thank you again to Alina for taking the time out to appear.
Thanks,
and thank you, everyone. Again, please leave a review, subscribe and all that. And we'll see you all again very soon. Right. Good night, everyone. Now, if you